Just a reminder that this video is an edited collection of our highlights of 2023. This is not a representation of our everyday lives in any way at all. We also do all the mundane day-to-day chores, empty bins, clean toilets, argue, veg on the sofa and work just like anybody else. We are just very fortunate to get to do all of this in a beautiful part of the world. We're Carlo and Nicki and we live in Positano, Italy. Our house is far from the road, but it overlooks the sea and we grow our own food. We show you what it's really like living year-round on the Amalfi Coast, so please subscribe and welcome to the Positano Diaries. We were in England for the holidays and kicked off New Year's Day with our traditional beach picnic. We were visiting family in Dorset for a few days. Days filled with long muddy walks in the countryside and along the coast path. Good food, warm fires and endless cups of tea and biscuits. My brother happens to live near Mapperton and we were invited over for lunch one day.
I really don't know if I can do this.
We're here at Mapperton. Let's go meet Julie and Luke.
No, fish are bad for pool.
I'm with Julie and she's convinced me to go for a swim.
I think it's probably around 8 degrees Celsius.
He's sinking! Oh, here! Here's all the mince pie!
We got it! Can somebody bring us a cup of tea, please?
Anybody got a spare oar? We held a surprise 90th birthday party for my dad, rounding up old friends and family.
I know who it is.
And soon after that, we packed up the car and started the long drive back to Positano. Sky flew back a few days later. We crossed through France, Belgium, Luxembourg and Switzerland, stopping overnight in Dinant, then Lucerne, before arriving in Italy. We had lunch in Como and then drove to Tuscany, where we stayed for a couple of nights with Maria and Lorenzo. We were hatching a plan and knew we'd be back very soon. It was good to be home. Positano was quiet and cold, in hibernation mode. There was a sprinkling of snow on the mountains. We settled back into coastal winter life, long walks, time with friends, cooking and gardening. In February, the weather was better. The days were still short but sunny. We spent time at the beach, we visited family, we spent time with friends and visited our chickens who now live in Priano. And one day we let Indy herd goats to see if it really was in her genes. And we're now going to walk home. And one day we decided to walk home from the next village, but via the mountain pathway. We ended up having lunch at an old farmhouse and stopped by to see Antonio the goat herder.
Smile. That was sherry.
Allora, è Positano.
We drove back to Tuscany. This was the start of our house hunting adventures. Carlo had been looking at properties for months, and we had a list of places and towns to explore. We had our first house viewing and fell in love, but it was too much work and in the wrong area, so we moved on. We saw a few others as we slowly made our way back to our friends in Vico Pisano.
Nice village.
Ti lascio il mio cuore.
Ciao da Vico Pisano, ciao.
March feels like a new beginning in Positano. The town slowly starts to come back to life. Locals meet up for days at the beach. Buildings are painted and cleaned for the upcoming season. And there is an air of hope and anticipation of good things to come. We drove to Umbria to visit a few properties we'd seen there. We saw some beautiful houses. This is the main house. And an incredible property that could have changed our lives forever. 3 houses on 2 hectares of land. It was a huge opportunity, but a huge responsibility, no doubt needing huge pots of money. We reluctantly agreed that it was too much to take on. Back in Positano, and suddenly it was busy again. I went to England for a week, but got ill and spent most of the time in bed. Oh well, it was actually nice to not do anything for a few days. I recovered and flew home. Luca was busy planting the summer veg and I got busy making jam before we headed back to Tuscany again. We wanted to explore all the different regions to be sure we knew where we wanted to buy. We're going house hunting.
Yes.
In April, we viewed a lot of houses.
It's not for us.
And slowly changed our minds about what we actually wanted.
No.
The idea of a big old house that we could make into a B&B was not really going to work for us, so we concentrated on finding something smaller just for us.
È fantastico.
When we weren't house hunting, we were seeing friends. Our social life in Tuscany seemed to be busier than in Positano already, and we hadn't even found a home there yet. Except we had. It's not the one we thought we were seeing.
It's incredible.
We are going to see a property that I am very excited about. We didn't say anything at the time, but in April we found the perfect property. If we'd known at the time how hard and frustrating it would be to buy it, we might have run away screaming. But we didn't, so we put in an offer that afternoon and the waiting game began. Woohoo! Back in Positano, the season had begun and it was already busy. We took you out on an errand running day around town by scooter and watched as the boat company set up for the summer. It was a slow start to the month of May, colder than usual with a lot of rainy days. Elizabeth treated us to an afternoon boat ride. It was so good to get out on the sea again. I spent a week in England and Celine happened to be there too, so we spent a day shopping together. Back in Positano, Carlo and Sky showed how they coped without me and took the dogs kayaking along the coast. In England, I met up with a group of friends, including Dave, for a hike in the Surrey Hills. Many of you questioned why they were all male. All I can say is there were always more males in my friend groups, and the two other girls from this group were not able to make it for the hike. We prepared the garden for summer, planting beans, peas, peppers, eggplants and more. Carlo sprinkled wildflower seeds all over, which surprised us with their blooms for the rest of the year. We had the first of the garden lunches. This is one of my all-time favourite things to do. I love inviting a whole load of people round to spend the day in our garden and cooking for them, spending time together. I love it. We realised we were short on pasta bowls. Some lovely person had left us a gift voucher at the local ceramic shop, so with that we bought 4 new plates. The weather took a turn for the worse. It poured and it thundered and it was cold and the poor tourists didn't know what to do with themselves, but for us, life went on.
Siamo al 18 maggio.
Eventually, we had a beach day and it was extra special after all the rain.
No, sai cosa vedete? Sì, guardateci, mi cade anche gli amici.
June is a beautiful month, warm and colourful with flowers. We took you around town with us by scooter as we did some errands, and yes, it's completely acceptable to do the shopping with a helmet on. The first potatoes were ready, so we made lots of different potato salads and invited some cousins to lunch. We took you to the local store for supplies and back home for a day in the garden. We hiked from Nerano to the Bay of Jarinto. It was a beautiful flower-filled walk. Following in my dad's jammy footsteps, I made kilos and kilos of jam from the strawberries that we grew. We took you around town to see all the beautiful flowers and stopped at the florist to add to our collection. Dana and Arsenio came over for a pasta making lesson. And the next day we took off for a little break a couple of hours south from here in Cilento. We paddled in streams, relaxed by the pool and did the oddest hike we've ever done. But it ended with a lovely river swim, which was fantastically cold. The next day we were left stranded when the car broke down, but it was soon fixed. Sky and Nicola took you for lunch at Adolfo's, and Federica at the Da Vincenzo store gave me a much needed lesson on how to dress my table. July was hot and crowded. I picked up a few days' work, old school style, helping out with Blue Star Positano. It was really fun, and it's not often that one gets to work with your closest friends, your daughter and her boyfriend, all together. Celine came to stay for a week, so we decided to be tourists at home with long beach days, the first swim of the year, and of course we hired a boat for the day for an excursion along the coast, stopping for lunch near Amalfi. The garden was thriving. At this time of year, we're almost self-sufficient with a bounty of food to pick and preserve and share with the family. There was a very long power cut that had us going back to basics, and eventually sleeping outside as it was so hot in the house. We spent a lot of time in the mountain streams, and eventually we had to go out for a cooked meal. We introduced you to some of the local artists from the Stradina near the main church of Positano. As the end of the month drew near, tomato season began. There was a day with unusually rough sea, so Elizabeth and Pepper took some footage and explained how they keep clients safe when this happens. Most importantly, in July, my first fiction book came out. A Boat Full of Lemons sold over 900 pre-orders, and I had to keep ordering print copies to sign and sell in various locations around town. We had really good fun putting together a promotional trailer for the book. How on earth do you even start to tell your adult daughter about her birth father who knows nothing of her existence? The bus lurched around the hairpin bends of the coast road as the sea glittered temptingly below. A couple of tourists laughed and exclaimed uneasily at the sight of the steep drop down from the side of the road. Wendy gripped the armrest of her seat with white knuckles too, but it was with excitement at what lay ahead, not the fear of falling into the ocean. In 1986, on a hot day in mid-May, Wendy and Amanda arrived by bus in Positano on the Amalfi Coast. They're dog-sitting for an American couple who will be away all summer and have a house and a dog at their disposal. Amanda soon finds a job in an art gallery, but it doesn't turn out to be quite what she expected. Meanwhile, Wendy finds work on a fishing tour boat and has the best time ever, apart from decapitating the anchovies. In their free time, the girls meet a host of local characters and explore the area. They go on boat trips, visit Capri and enjoy an illicit swim in the Blue Grotto. There are very Italian dinner parties and rides on Vespas and incredible food. The whole town is gearing up towards the opening of a new nightclub, The Paradise, and the opening night is set to be the most exciting event of the year. It seems like the perfect summer, but Wendy falls for someone who is definitely not available, and Amanda realises that one of their friends may be the local drug dealer, and everything starts to go wrong. August began and we left Positano for cooler climate. We spent a week in Tuscany. It was our first time there in the summer and we packed in a load of activities. We saw all our friends, we swam and we secretly visited a certain property for sale that we were trying to buy. Unfortunately, it all fell through and we were told we could try again in September. One of the things that stood out to us in Tuscany was the lack of crowds in this area. We're so used to living in an over-touristed town that the quiet beaches and calm roads of Tuscany were a refreshing surprise. We carried on driving, heading towards England, but with a specific plan. We wanted to swim our way across Europe, finding hidden wild swimming locations along our route and enjoying them. It was a fantastic idea and made our journey into an exciting adventure rather than just a long drive. My favourite stop was in Donnas in the Italian Alps. It was so special and we spent a whole day jumping into beautiful rock pools, on and into France where the temperature dropped and the weather changed. We decided to kayak instead of swim, and a couple of days later we arrived at Dad's house in England. I took Carlo to Bournemouth to see what he thought of the English beaches in summer. We were very lucky with the weather that week. We carried on driving down to Dorset and spent time with family. It was so lovely. I almost wanted to move back to England. Meanwhile, in Positano, Blue Star was having their annual family day. They close bookings for the day and take all of their staff and all of their families out for a day on the sea with a big lunch and lots of swimming. The crew get to relax, have fun and show their loved ones what they do at work. Back in England, we spent time with my dad and carried on our swimming across Europe adventure by tackling an inflatable water park, the best fun we've had in ages. All too soon, it was time to leave Harry and head back to Italy. September was a busy month, full of ups and downs. We started by driving back through France, stopping at some stunningly beautiful locations along the way. Bye-bye. Bye. We also stayed in a shepherd's hut in Saint-Rémy-de-Provence and browsed the markets for a day before bad weather hit, and we decided to drive the 12 hours it took to get home.
Che bella borsa!
It took a while to settle back in, unload the car and tackle the overgrown garden, but it was lovely to be back for a few days.
It's supposed to be getting worse today and tomorrow.
Sky spent 3 days in harbour on Procida Island with the Blue Star boys, showing us what life is like when the sea gets rough and the boats can't go out. We only had a few days at home, but there was enough time to restock the local shops with my book, reconnect with friends, and help Luca prepare for planting the winter vegetables. We also took a walk into the bottom of the valley and found 6 footballs which had rolled down from the local football pitch in Montepetruso. Before we knew it, we were in the car again, heading back to try and buy this house in Tuscany. This was our 4th try, and we decided that if it fell through again, we'd give up. The stress finally caught up with me while we were there, so we took a day off and visited a beautiful river before heading home to wait for news. It was a complicated sail, but finally...
Yeah! Abbiamo una casa! Un'altra casa!
We showed you the footage of the first visit and the offer that we put in back in April.
Woohoo! Not yet.
And it's absolutely lovely. After so much travelling, we just wanted to stay at home in October. I think we needed time to process the fact that we owned a new property, but still had to wait 4 months before we could actually be inside it. We enjoyed the local bean festival in the village and gave the house a good spring clean as my friend Dave was coming to stay. Dave was just what we needed to distract ourselves from Tuscany plans. We spent the week being tourists with him, taking a boat trip along the Amalfi Coast. We're off to discover the Amalfi Coast, hiking in the mountains and having lots of deep, meaningful conversations.
Really?
Yeah. It's quite a satisfying job. The olive harvest started as well, so we made sure that we found time to help our neighbours pick and process the olives.
He's very happy always.
We drove up to Montefiito to see the view across the Bay of Naples and walk through the woods. We spent a day in Capri, which was far too crowded for my liking, but we got to walk down the Via Krupp, which had been closed for years. The weather in October was perfection, not too hot, but still summery. If only it could be like this all year round. Lenny and Rosie showed us how Halloween is celebrated in Positano, with trick-or-treating, a pumpkin patch, and a look at the cemetery at night time. I think I'm going to leave this here. And extra satisfying if most of the vegetables come from the garden. I started making a model of the new house in Tuscany so I could plan how to decorate it, and we had a quick look in some furniture shops too. I don't believe it.
Oh, I changed job.
We started preparing for winter, stocking up on pellets to heat the house and putting away the summer clothes. Sky and Nicola left to go and explore Madeira, and Carlo and I drove to Sicily, where we reunited with some very special friends. We helped Sarah and Luca and Lucia with the end of the olive harvest and got to know the area they now call home.
Ciao.
That's lovely.
What are you two doing? Back in Positano, and I got busy making over 1,000 bars of soap with Marta from La Selva Cosmetics. While we were busy soap making, Carlo started going for long walks in the mountains, a routine which he's managed to keep going every day up until now.
Happy coincidence.
We eventually packaged the soaps into gift sets, and we were all really surprised when they all sold out in just over 20 hours. Sky and Nicola took us around the island of Madeira, showing us the most breathtaking hikes and viewpoints.
Botanical gardens. He keeps falling. We're saving the most difficult one for last.
At about 1,800 meters.
In December, I flew to England for a few days. While I was there, Carlo visited Procida Island with Elizabeth and family as they were in the market for a new boat.
Our local street food.
Harry kindly shared his huge saucepan and homeware collection with me,
That one.
letting me pack some items to send to Tuscany.
I know I shouldn't be in love, but it's so hard to move on. You haven't changed. You stayed.
Back in Positano, and it was starting to feel a bit cooler.
I'd still love you anyway.
Sky and Carlo were away, so I spent a whole week alone with the dogs, which was a rare and wonderfully calm experience.
Promise I would. Even though you wouldn't do the same.
I love my family, but also loved having this time to myself. It was peaceful and relaxing, while they spent the week exploring Athens.
Even though you wouldn't do the same. This conversation more than 10 times.
When Carlo quit work 3 years ago, we decided to start up a new tradition. He would have a father and children vacation every November or December, and they'd go somewhere different, just the three of them. So that's what they've done. The first year they went to Lisbon, then they went to Prague, and this year Athens.
Just for you, 3 of them I can't bear listening to.
Christmas arrived, and we visited the nearby towns to get in the mood.
Hai preso qualcosa di buono?
My name on it. Absolutely beautiful sunset happening. What they're doing there. Now, I actually wouldn't mind a new bag. Christmas Eve was spent with the family, 19 of us for lunch at the in-laws.
Even though you wouldn't do the same.
And everyone brought desserts.
17 a disgrazia.
Do anything you want me to.
89.
We played tombola after lunch and spent the next few days trying to walk off all that we had eaten with long mountain hikes. 2024 is going to be a very different year. New adventures await and we can't wait to share them with you. Happy New Year, everyone. Buon anno a tutti.
Vogliamo sedere qua e aspettare il tramonto?